Hey everyone, thanks for tuning back in to our YouTube live series brought to you by Transition Programs. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about academic tips and tricks and our time management skills that we learned throughout college. Just to introduce ourselves, my name is Sabrina Ballant. I am a junior from Greensboro, North Carolina. I'm majoring in communication studies with a minor in leadership.
Hey y'all, I'm Scott Chestnut. I'm a rising senior from Benson, North Carolina, and I'm studying marketing.
Hey y'all, my name is Caitlin Isley. I'm a junior from Burlington, North Carolina, majoring in communication studies with a minor in leadership.
So just to kick things off a little bit, I know that for all of us, before we came to college, we watched movies about college, TV shows, we listened to music about college. So before we actually became a student at UNCW, what were kind of some of your expectations about college from an academic standpoint?
Yeah, so, as far as the movies and stuff go, I knew those were like Hollywood, so I didn't really listen to them. I listened to my teachers in high school, and they always told me, they told the class that professors in college weren't going to hold your hand, that they don't care about your success really, and that, extra credit will never be a thing. So I just had this idea that it was like this place where you go and you get talked at and where you just spend all your time hitting the books. So that's what I thought it was going to be.
I agree. My experience was a lot like that. My teachers always told me, your teachers aren't going to care about you. There's no extra credit in college. You're going to have to be on your own. And they also feel like you're going to be studying a lot, but you're also going to have free time. And I really focused on we'll have free time a little too much and didn't study necessarily as much as I needed to, especially from going from high school where I didn't really have to study to college being in 3 bio classes, a chem class, math, super underprepared, and definitely didn't know how to study as well as I thought I needed to be.
So taking what you guys learned through your experience in college, if you could go back to the beginning of your first year here at UNCW, what would you change about your academics and your time management?
So I had this idea going in that I wouldn't have free time. I'd be hitting the books. And when I when I realized I did have free time, I think I bit off more than I could chew as far as working. So I'd work 25, 30 hours a week on top of a full-time schedule. And, even though I had enough time to where I could work 25, 30 hours a week, that didn't leave a lot of time for studying after work. Because there's the time you spend in class, the time I spend at work, that didn't leave a lot of time for studying. So one thing I would definitely change is focusing on school rather than trying to just do mediocre at all three. And just focus on the one that's important, the why I'm here.
I would definitely change the people that I surrounded myself with. My freshman year, I just kind of hung out with whoever. I didn't really find my people necessarily. And then going in my sophomore year, I found the people that I wanted to be around, and they also had the same values and had the same interests as me, which helped all of us study as a group and kind of just bounce off of each other. And definitely finding my spaces around campus and just figuring out what I needed to become that better student.
So you guys bring up points about different experiences in your first year, but also similarities. So I know that a common theme that people have way different experiences with is professors. So from you guys' point of views, how do you think your life with professors went?
It went a lot better than I expected it to. My very first semester, coming in, like I said, one of the main things I was worried about was the fact that I had this idea that they didn't care. So I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna try to make them care, or at least try. Math is one thing I'm terrible at. And my first day of college algebra, I walked up to my math teacher and shook his hand and I said, "My name is Scott Chestnut. You will be seeing a lot of me." And every Friday, he made time to where I could go to his office and we would, work on the stuff in class. And honestly, there was a little friendship formed there. the following semester when I wasn't even in his class anymore. I was taking the next up, I was taking calculus. And he still helped me with the calculus, even though I wasn't in his class. And, you know, it ended up, I did okay. I mean, I got a B. And now we're Facebook friends and all that. Yeah, so, yeah, great guy. And there was another teacher where first day of class, he said, in this class, you get what you get, and I will not round, I will not give extra credit. You need to earn your grade. And I took that, and I was like, I took it very serious, and I went to his office as much as I could, and at the end of the semester, I ended up getting like a high C. He rounded it to a B for me, and he emailed me about it. And he said, like, you showed a lot of determination this semester, like you tried, you strived, and I wanted to make sure that your push was fruitful.
Yeah.
So that was really, really cool, like being able to have like that. I had this idea and it just got busted, like it was completely wrong in my experience.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely have mixed experiences. I've had some similar to Scott's, but I've also had some that are like, I put in the effort and professors just like, yeah, whatever. But I mean, it's understandable. Most of my classes were like bigger, 200 people, like
lecture style
yeah,
type class.
lecture style, where like they had so many other people to worry about, like I'm not their priority,
Right.
and I kind of had to learn to be okay with that. But I also had those professors who were like, I made sure they knew my name on the first day of class. And that benefited me because they knew who I was and they knew what kind of effort I was putting in, and that made me feel determined, and it made me like want to be a part of that class, and it made me want to do better.
And I'm sure that reflected on how well you did in the class.
Yeah.
Awesome. So you guys both brought up very different experiences with Rate My Professors. And so I'm sure you guys have heard of the website Rate My Professor. For those of you who may not know, it's like a Yelp for professors. So students who have taken a course or enrolled in that course can go on that website and rate that professor like a 1 through 5 thing, I think, type deal. So what are our thoughts on that? Like, how do we feel about Rate My Professor, the website?
So my first semester here, before I signed up for classes, I looked at what courses I needed, and then I went to Rate My Professor and kind of tried to gauge which ones I would and wouldn't take. And, you know, with getting schedules, you know, sometimes you're not going to get what you want. And I ended up having to sign up for some of these professors that I thought would be bad based on the reviews that they got. And they actually ended up being some of the better ones I had, which kind of like totally just made me not use it anymore. I didn't use it after my first semester here just because like it's all opinionated, and you know, if someone has a really good experience in the class, they're going to go and praise the professor. If someone has a terrible experience in the class, they're going to go and just obliterate them. So it's two extremes. To me, it's not very,
it's
not
either
accurate.
Really good or really bad.
Yeah.
Right.
I agree. I was a person in high school who most of the teachers that I had, like if someone didn't like them, I loved them. So I kind of took that same aspect when I came to college. It was like, if people don't like this professor, like I'm gonna love them.
Mm-hmm.
So I just kind of took on that mindset. I tried my best to not look at Rate My Professor, of course, like most people do at some point. A lot of times I would go back and look after I'd taken the class and be shocked at what people had put.
Right.
But I agree, like it's not accurate. Like everyone's learning style is different. Like you're all gonna learn differently. You're gonna take classes that you love that other people hate, and it's just like depending on the person specifically.
Right.
And I don't think Rate My Professor is a good gauge on like everyone's different learning styles.
So I think our general consensus is that we're probably not a fan of it. It's probably not too helpful after all. I do want to go back and touch on something we talked about in the beginning regarding time management, because that is a huge skill that I feel like you can really only learn from experience. You mentioned trying to balance a job, like working, what'd you say, like 25, 30 hours a week with school. You were mostly focusing on your free time, and like that kind of threw you off. So what overall tips would you give to an incoming student at UNCW about time management, and like, what did you learn through experience?
So I have two big things that were really helpful for me. The first is just remember why you're here. You're here to learn, and I think it's important. Like having a job is great, and some people need to have a job to be able to afford bills and do stuff like that. I think it's just important to balance both in a healthy way, and don't overdo one over the other, or you need to choose one to really focus on. And if you're paying tuition, that needs to be school.
Right.
Second thing is I would say is sometimes it's not the amount of time you spend studying, it's what you get out of your study time. So for example, I could sit in the library and study French for 2 or 3 hours by myself. And I would get some stuff out of it. Definitely wouldn't get as much as I could, because ultimately no one's there helping me.
Right.
I know with we have a lot of resources on campus. I use the Learning Center a lot. 1 hour of going there for French tutoring, twice a week going there for 1 hour. I got an A in French, which was wild to me. And then I took a macroeconomics class. I went to a supplemental instruction, and I went there once a week for a whole semester, and I ended up getting a high B in that class. And it was, 2 hours with SI, but that 2 hours meant I didn't have to study as much afterwards.
Right.
Because that hour was packed and it was helpful and everything. So I think it's, as far as managing time, think about what your study habits are and what you're actually doing, so that way it doesn't feel overwhelming. And sometimes you might have more free time because your study time is actually effective and you're actually retaining the information. So.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely treated school differently my freshman year than I do now. My freshman year, I had no idea what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
I was in way over my head, and studying was new to me. I didn't know how to do it. I spent a week in the library studying for a biology exam, ended up getting a 60 on the exam. Just because of the way I studied, I didn't know what I was reading, what I was writing. I just did it. It looked pretty. I had all the pretty markers, but it didn't help.
Right.
And now I do it all in black pen and I get better grades.
Yeah.
But it's just the way that I do it now, it's so different. My freshman year, I didn't use the resources on campus, and the definitely showed. Now, I've gone to supplemental instruction and done tutoring with some of my classes, and it's helped so much because that's someone who's taken the class and cares enough to put it back in. They might have not taken the class in a year, but they care about what you get in that class and care how you do. So having them as a resource is so beneficial. But also the study spaces on campus, in the 2 Fisher buildings, there's these rooms all around, and you can kind of just go in and sit and study there when people aren't reserving these rooms. And people don't know about that, but they're so quiet and no one's there. But also just being able to write down, scheduling out things, making to-do lists, knowing what I have to get done helps me so much more. And just kind of scheduling. I know we talked about this before, and you'll hear about it with orientation, but treating it 40-hour a week.
Like a job.
Yeah. 8 to 5, you do schoolwork and nothing else.
Yeah.
And that is so helpful, and people don't realize that school is a job, but it should be taken that seriously.
Yeah.
One thing I would also kind of talk about is I would avoid studying, in your bed, but especially I would not even study in your room where you sleep. Because if you spend 3 hours studying, if you're in your bed studying and then it's time to go to sleep, I read online somewhere that your brain is still in work mode and it's harder for it to separate work from relaxation in that space. So I definitely would say, don't study in your room. Go find somewhere else to do it. There's a lot of places on campus for that. And, just have a space where it's I don't do schoolwork here. So that way you have that separation.
Yeah. So besides the library in your room, because you're not a big fan of like studying in your room. Did you have like a favorite space to go like on campus, off campus to study that you may want to like recommend?
See, yeah, so when I actually do want to study, I really like I go to the library, but I honestly just spend a lot of time talking in there. I'm not on the second floor.
Yeah.
But I don't like going to the second floor just because it's so quiet.
Yeah. For those of you watching, our second floor is kind of like our quiet space.
Yeah.
So when you go up there, no one's talking, it's dead silent, and our first floor can kind of be used as like a big group study room. So
yeah. When it's nice outside, I really like the balcony of the student center. However, when it's colder or too hot, I honestly just go to where my next class is, like that building.
Yeah.
And I'll kind of study in like rooms they have there. So I'm like kind of all over the place, but it's nice to be able to get a change of scenery every once in a while.
That fits in well with treating it as like a 9-to-5 job. It's just studying in between classes. Yeah, I like that. Good tip. So I know we've all kind of talked about social aspect. Like we keep bringing that topic up, and obviously we're not the only people in our lecture style classes or even our not lecture style classes. So how do you feel you guys used like your classmates to help you study, or group projects in college are inevitable? You're going to have them no matter what. So how do you guys feel like you used your other peers as a resource to help you?
So my first semester, I didn't know anybody in my classes, and that was kind of hard for me. But I found that the more stuff I got involved in on campus and like the more people I met, now it's like, I came out of my shell, so if I don't know anyone in the class, it's easier for me to make friends. But a lot of times I have at least one person I know, or like I have a familiar face in there. So that kind of like ties into like people you're gonna hear like, the more involved you are, like the more likely you are to do better in school. And I think, that is a big part of it, like knowing people, or like, the more people you know, that they can connect you with someone who may do well in that class. So I would just say like, I haven't had problems making friends recently and like doing stuff in that class, but that's just because I've gotten more involved on campus. So.
Yeah, I would agree. Like I think getting involved, not only like you meet people, but most of our like clubs and stuff, jobs, whatever on campus have like a GPA requirement.
Mm-hmm.
And so everyone that's doing that with you, like they also have to keep that GPA.
Yeah.
So like surrounding yourself with those people, not only do you have the same interests, but you also like have that common, like I have to keep this grade.
Yeah, like something to work
with. And like having that goal in mind definitely helps you like be more studious, be more like on top of your game.
Right.
And that's like super helpful. But also like having those interests, like those are probably the people that are in your classroom already. So like you have a group to study with.
Right. So I think we hit on some great points today. I know some of our students may feel a mix of emotions of excitement or nervousness coming into college, and academics are obviously going to be way different no matter what type of high school or previous school you came from. So I think if you could give like 3 solid points of general advice going in, what would you tell our incoming students?
Focus, pay attention, go to class. Don't work too much, and get involved, make friends. Connections are really, really important for success here. So I think those, off the top of my head, those are the 3 that I would focus on.
I really think like keying in on the idea of work, or like using school, like it is a full-time job.
Mm-hmm.
And having that mind like set going into it is going to help you so much, like with scheduling things and figuring out like where you need to put your focus on. And then I would say like definitely surrounding yourself with people that have similar interests, but also like that are taking the same classes and have the same ideas. Like I need to get this grade, or I need to do this well in classes. Having those people like that you surround yourself with is going to help you do well too. And then definitely like even though you're going to treat school like a job, like take time for yourself because you need to, like self-care is a big point. I know we talked about that in previous videos before, but keying in on that idea, like you're going to help yourself do better down the road if you take care of yourself.
Well, we want to thank you all for tuning into us today and joining us for talking about academic tips and time management. We strongly encourage you guys and would really appreciate it if you guys would come out for the next one. Our next YouTube Live video is going to be Wednesday, July 31st. Same time, same place, 12 o'clock noon. We're going to be talking about the importance of the first 3 weeks of college. Thank you, guys.